First of all, breaking news today coming from America. The feds have just foiled what could be a third assassination attempt on President Donald Trump. The US Secret Service have uncovered a suspicious hunting platform placed in a tree, pretty much a sniper's nest, with a direct line of sight where President Trump exits his Air Force One aircraft at Palm Beach International Airport. The hunting platform, or hunting stand as they're more commonly known, are used by animal hunters to give shooters elevated positions and a better line of sight. FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox News tonight, prior to the president's return to West Palm Beach, the US Secret Service discovered what appeared to be an elevated hunting stand within sightline of the Air Force One landing zone. No individuals were located at the scene, but the FBI has since taken the investigatory lead, flying in resources to collect all evidence from the scene and deploying our cell phone analytic capabilities. Secret Service Comms Chief Anthony Guglielmi said the authorities are so far unable to provide details about the specific items found in the tree or the possible intent. A law enforcement source told Fox News Digital the stand appeared to have been set up months ago. But the investigation comes, of course, weeks after Ryan Ruth was found guilty of attempting to assassinate President Trump at a Palm Beach golf course from a sniper's nest he set up in bushes along a fence line. And more than a year, of course, after this moment, which I argue undoubtedly won President Trump the election.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
So we've had Trump taking a bullet to the ear, escaping with his life thanks to a miracle turn of the head, and another nutcase recently jailed for a second attempt to take him out. And let's not forget Charlie Kirk's assassination last month either. Who knows what this hunting platform was set up for and by who? But what's clear is the threat against President Trump still persists and is very, very real. And when you're making progress and delivering promises like this administration is, the payoff is that people literally want you dead, which is why I'm growing ever concerned for the safety of Nigel Farage. Reform UK have been leading every poll for the past 10 months, and it was only a few weeks ago we learned Farage's publicly funded security detail had been slashed by 75% by parliamentary officials for what Reform UK called inexplicable reasons. So when the likes of Keir Starmer calls Reform's immigration policies racist, Farage the enemy, and says calls for a national inquiry on grooming gangs are a far-right bandwagon, let's just remember what that very serious consequence of that kind of language could be. And of course, let's not forget David Lammy's ludicrous U-turn on his Hitler Youth barb aimed at Farage earlier this month. Because make no mistake about it, if Reform are leading the polls within a year to go until an election in 2028, in the same fashion they are now, I have no doubt that far-left radical lunatics will literally be baying for blood. Well, let's get the take of political commentator and host of Spot On with Link Lauren. Link Lauren, good evening. Thank you for your company. Really shocking developments tonight stateside to do with this potentially third assassination attempt on President Trump's life. What's your take on it? Anything else that you can add to this growing story?
Well, it's great to be back with you, Ben. The details are still developing right now. According to FBI Director Kash Patel, they discovered a hunting stand that was facing where Air Force One lands in Palm Beach. So this is not good. I think the overarching issue here is that President Trump has been so dehumanized by the left. They're constantly trying to take him out. And all of this political violence, all of this political extremism is stemming from the left in general. We saw what just happened with Charlie Kirk on September 10th. He was barbarically assassinated. President Trump has had multiple assassination attempts. In fact, one of them was down in Palm Beach via Ryan Ruth. So this is going to continue, unfortunately, but we have to give respect to the Secret Service, and I'm grateful that they found this, but it's very concerning because President Trump is a father, a grandfather, and has an entire family.
Yeah, Link, beyond all the political stance and where people stand, the same with Charlie Kirk, beyond his position on things, I think, as you said, this kind of rhetoric about people being Hitler, being Nazis, being far right, I mean, in the case of Nigel Farage and Reform UK, I argue they're not far right. We just had 3 genuine far right potential terrorists banged up in the UK for plotting a massive terror attack. I'll give more details shortly, but they are the real far right. When you come to people like Nigel Farage, President Donald Trump, when you call them far right, I mean, what does it do in the minds of those sort of massively far left lunatics who think, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll be taking out the next Hitler if I take this out. Is that the kind of train of thought they have?
Well, absolutely, and we've seen this for years. The left continues to call figures on the right fascist, Hitler, Nazis. I don't think President Trump is Hitler because he just freed Israeli hostages, all right? He's a friend of Israel. He's a friend of the Jewish Americans, Jews across the world. So I think calling him Hitler is not going to stick much longer. But this is what they continue to do. They call you Nazis, fascist, Hitler. They try to dehumanize you, and they also try to validate their horrific behavior, right? They try to validate their violence. And there are even polls that show many on the left think that political extremism is okay if you're taking out a figure that you deem to be threatening your rights. This is not the country we should be living in, where you're taking up arms and conducting political violence like this.
Yeah, and some breaking news in the last 15 minutes or so, Link. Fox News are reporting that President Trump has already been taking reactive security measures. He was just boarding Air Force One, reportedly very quickly, using the small stairs due to this incident in Palm Beach, this discovery. How do you think this will change things henceforth? Do you think this will just be a temporary reaction, or do you think the administration, there's some pictures now, look, of Trump boarding that Air Force One plane very quickly. Do you think this administration will be stepping up security for the long term?
Well, I have such respect for the Secret Service. I feel like they have incredible security. President Trump has amazing security around him. The Secret Service are amazing. So I don't know if this is going to be a long-term solution. I'm not sure what's going to happen because it just broke an hour ago before I came on here. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a breaking and developing story. Link, whilst I've got you down the line, can we talk quickly about something else that's absolutely embroiling the UK at the moment, which is the Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein saga? What's your take on it? There's calls now that he should be stripped of his Prince title. He's still knocking around in Royal Lodge in Great Windsor Park. I mean, argue he should be kicked out of there straight away. But this threatens to kind of bring massive doubts and questions to the very monarchy itself, I argue. What's your take?
Right. So when I read the letter, it seemed like Prince Andrew is going to relinquish his titles for now, or he's going to stop using his titles, I guess, to ingratiate himself or further himself in his career financially. But it's interesting, he does continue to live at Royal Lodge and have some of the, spoils and trappings of being a royal. What I really think we need is to strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their titles. They haven't been around in about 6 years. They left in January of 2020. Why does Meghan Markle continue to use her Duchess of Sussex title? She continues to call herself Her Royal Highness. She is using her title to sell jams, jellies, and dog biscuits. Okay, I want Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to have those titles stripped. I feel like when Prince William becomes King William, he is going to strip some of these titles and thin the monarchy out to people who actually work for the Commonwealth and work for the people. Okay, not these hucksters in California.
Yeah. Yeah, and Link, do you know what? It was the late Queen Elizabeth who specifically told Harry and Meghan, I do not want you making commercial gains off the back of your royal links. And I argue, I've said for years as well, and no one's been able to answer me this, but you had Meghan Markle who, if you take her word, she said that she was a victim of racism in the royal family. She said she wanted to take her own life. Such was the horrendous experience she had as a working member of the royal family. I mean, God forbid, a life of luxury. But when you've been through that kind of experience, the worst time of your life, you wanted to take your own life, and that's no sort of barb at her. But if she actually felt like that, why would you then want to continue using your royal links, your royal titles, the HRH, all these little sort of gimmicks? Like, did you really have a bad time? Because if that was me, and I think for most other people, I'd want to forget everything about what happens during my time in the royal family.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Meghan Markle, she went and did an interview with Oprah where she accused the royal family of racism. She said she had a horrible time, that they were working her to death. She had no privacy, no safety, no security. She wanted to take her own life. But now that she's been in the U.S. for almost 6 years, she is using her title, the Duchess of Sussex, where, she spent 5 hours in Sussex, but she continues to call herself the Duchess of Sussex. She
I'm
uses
from Sussex.
That title to yes,
I've never seen her in Sussex.
Spent a lot of time
life.
there. I think I've spent more time in Sussex than she has on trips. So Meghan Markle, she calls herself the Duchess of Sussex, and she uses that title to sell jams, jellies, dog biscuits, and go to Balenciaga fashion shows. Not once has she worked for the British people in 6 years. Has she done anything?
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, it has to be said, of course, Prince Andrew's scandal is much more serious than Harry's and Meghan's. I mean, I think Harry and Meghan are a couple of a treacherous pair, to say the least. I mean, doing your family over like that in public is pretty dirty in my book. But Prince Andrew, the saga rolls on. It's not looking good, and it's also dragging his wife Fergie into it, and indeed Eugenie and Beatrice, the princesses. Link, before I let you go, let's just go back to the old story quickly. Eric Trump, President Trump's son, has tweeted on this potential assassination attempt in the last few minutes. I'm not sure if we can get that up very quickly. He's basically suggested that, here we go, it's coming on screen now. He's basically suggested that this, well, he's praised the Secret Service for doing a great job. He's not gone as far yet to say it's an assassination attempt. I guess he wants to wait for the full investigation, but he said, quote unquote, hunting stand for all the whitetail on Southern Boulevard, located directly across the street from Palm Beach International Airport, in the median of a major highway, directly facing the Air Force One stairs, 200 yards away. And Eric Trump, of course, has got a new book out in the last couple of weeks called, I think it's Under Siege, which details how the left went for his father. They tried to jail him, they impeached him, they went for lawfare, they tried to kill him. So what must the family be thinking tonight after this potential third assassination attempt?
Well, I'll go back to what I said earlier. President Trump is a father, a grandfather. He's also the father figure of the country. The president, no matter if it's a Republican or Democrat, you are a father figure of the country. But he's been so dehumanized by the mainstream media, by these radical Marxists on the left, that they're going to do everything they can to stop him. And they've tried multiple times with Thomas Crooks, Ryan Ruth. Now this situation in Palm Beach with the hunting stand that's facing Air Force One. This is not a good situation. So I pray for his kids. I pray for his grandkids. This family has been persecuted and prosecuted. They've ginned up bogus lawsuits, and he's come through all of it. So I imagine President Trump is not going anywhere anytime soon, thankfully. Thank God.
Let's get the take of US commentator and Democrat Party strategist Bob Weiner and the Daily Mail's US political reporter Victoria Churchill, who join me live in the studio tonight. Hello, you two. Thank you for your company. Right, Bob, you were laughing, you were scoffing and sniggering at Link Lauren in that previous segment. What's your take on this?
Well, first of all, thank you for the mug. Then thank you for bringing them from London.
Straight back from London. Just let's get into the serious stuff first. No paper cups, but GB News mug straight from London.
Let me just cell phone analytics. You know, I have a deer stand in the woods where I live, 20 minutes from Washington.
Yes.
If they had maybe walked around the airport in a concentric circle and looked around, it wouldn't have taken them a couple of months to find it. So that's a little ridiculous to me. That's and of course there's no debate.
Hang on. Let's talk about the stands. So, these aren't very well known in the UK because I think very few people go and hunt deer. Right. So it's a platform in the tree,
right,
which people elevate from. They hold rifles. Right. Okay.
This one was aiming right at Air Force One's landing steps, so that's where it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
But how do they not find that? The same thing as it took them a while to find the thing in the golf course. So, you know, walk around, look, the thing on top of the roof, how do you not find that? So we got some flaws in our, but it's the same thing on Capitol Hill. I walk around and they have arches where all the VIPs go through, and I keep telling people, you know, that's dangerous. It is dangerous.
So you're slamming the Secret Service. You said that they should have found it months ago. I mean, they've uncovered it.
They should have
they found the guy in the bushes on the golf course.
They did indeed, but here, didn't we just hear that it's a couple months that it's been there, that the sand was there?
Potentially.
So that's ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, nobody wants an assassination attempt on anybody, but quit with the saying it's a left. It's because of the rhetoric of the left, which your commentator said, which Eric Trump says. What happened to the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys who injured 150 cops on January 6th and 5 died? What happened to that? This is not a right or left. It is not a right or left, and it's not a right or left rhetoric. It's everybody's rhetoric.
Well, let's talk about, I don't want to talk about January the 6th, but those coppers, those police officers died of natural causes.
No.
The only person, Bob, who was shot dead on
Eye
January the 6th.
gouges, heart attacks.
No, the only person who was shot dead on January the 6th was who? A Republican MAGA woman. I've forgotten her name. God bless her.
Yeah, she was breaking into the Capitol so she could shoot Congress people. Tough.
So she could shoot Congress people.
That's exactly right. That's what she was doing.
She was the only person who was killed by law enforcement. Yes, and that's why the Capitol cops protected. I don't talk about
Harry Dunn says that the cops were heroes, the Congress people were hiding, and she was breaking in, and it's a disgrace that she got that $5 million settlement.
Well, there's videos doing the rounds, which I saw even yesterday, or today on the plane over here, of police officers welcoming people into the Capitol, saying, "Come in, come in."
Why create a mess?
Right. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the assassination attempt potentially on President Trump. Victoria, your take on this? You broke this tonight, didn't you, just before Fox News?
Yeah, well, they beat us by about half an hour, but we got it up right after them. And Katie, I think, pulled the picture that we use with the circle. So thanks, Katie. I'm sure the folks back in up in New York and back in London will appreciate you using our graphic from that. But, you know, I'm going to actually disagree with Link and agree with Bob on Secret Service. I think they have lapse after lapse after lapse.
Right.
I was not directly in Butler, but I was there the day after because I was covering an event about 45 minutes away. And I interviewed some of the neighbors whose properties backed up to that Butler Farm Show grounds, you know, who said that they were never contacted by Secret Service kind of outside of the direct perimeter of that rally. And I've also sat in hearings in Congress where they've investigated the Secret Service. You know, Rand Paul, he's one of the main guys on this. You know, he's one of the main guys on this. Rand Paul is of Kentucky. He's not one of Trump's favorite Republicans, probably one of his least favorite Republicans. But, you know, I think Trump actually does appreciate the investigations that Paul has been leading on this to figure out how the Secret Service is having lapse after lapse after lapse. And, you know, in this time of heightened political rhetoric on both sides, members of Congress want, you know, additional protection. They had some additional funds appropriated before the August recess here a couple months ago because they feel threatened.
But they don't want to come back because of Epstein.
Well, and, you know, again, I've actually got her name here. Of course, we had in Arizona the special election with Adelita Gravalha. She can't be sworn in because Congress is currently out of session, so they can't have a swearing in for a member of Congress.
Okay, Eric, I mean, you both have, you know, you've critiqued the Secret Service there, but these guys work with the Trump family for many, many years. President Trump says some of them are indeed like family members and very good friends. Eric Trump has just tweeted in the last hour or so saying the Secret Service did a great job finding this. And Bob, I'd like to know what you think
I would have found that deer stand.
Well, maybe it wasn't set up. Maybe it wasn't set up months ago.
And
maybe
by the way, the other thing I think that's really stupid, Ben. Let's tell everybody what the details were so the copycats can do it. I can't believe the detail that they're going into with the specifics of this thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you're clutching at straws maybe there. I mean, surely it's an alert to make other people aware that potentially what could happen. Yeah. I want to talk about the UK. I argue the likes of Nigel Farage, other leading politicians in the UK, are facing the same sort of threat that President Trump does here? Because I'll say it again, if you're 12 months out from an election and Reform are leading every poll going, I think some very deranged people will do anything they can to stop it.
Well, I agree. I like Nigel. I've been on his show half a dozen times. And to cut his security funding 75% is nuts.
Yeah,
that's number one. Of course, if he's leading as it appears that he is, of course he should be approved for extra Secret Service control, as we do with presidential candidates in the United States.
Victoria, your take on the UK situation? Of course, we don't have guns in the UK, but there's access to guns.
You know, I wish actually the UK had the Second Amendment, and I wish more states in the US actually followed the Second Amendment as it's written, unlike how some state legislators have legislated it, because I think regardless of how secure of a force you have, whether that's hired or assigned to you, you know, I think at the end of the day, you are your own protector, and that's why, you know, not so much on this show, but on other media that I do, I'm constantly advocating for the Second Amendment to be as it's written. And, you know, like I said, I do wish that the UK had it because people that want to cause violence.
Do you wish we had guns in the UK?
I do think so.
I mean, I don't.
Oh,
I mean, I'm very...
But you like the Second Amendment here?
I love the Second Amendment here.
The numbers of deaths are way higher with the places that have guns. Way higher.
I'm very pro-gun in the United States, only because the guns are out anyway. The horse is bolted, and the quickest way to stop a mass shooting is by being armed yourself. If every bad guy on the street has access to a gun, I'd like a gun as well. But we don't have that in the UK, so I don't want to push a button in the UK and say, right, everybody have guns. I have a shotgun license in the UK, but you have to have a firearms officer come to your house, interview you, check your house out, make sure you're not a nutter, check your family out, you know, kind of see what kind of person you are. You have to have a medical note from the GP as well, saying you've had no previous mental health history. And the gun has to be locked in a cabinet, bolted to a wall, with the keys kept separately, and nobody else in the house is allowed to know where that key is. And sometimes they'll do random checks. They'll knock on the door and say, "Oh, hello, is Ben in?" And my wife will answer. And
especially the kids.
She'll say, "Oh no, he's not in." And they'll say, "Can we see the gun in the cabinet?" And they'll try and trick you. If the wife says, "Oh yeah, here's the keys," you lose your license straight away. So I don't want to push a button now and have guns on the streets in the UK. Absolutely not. But in the US, yes, because everybody else has got one.
Yeah, I mean, my pushback to that, I think, always is, in the UK, people commit mass acts of violence, whether that's with vehicles or with knives. So, people that have bad intentions will always find a way to cause harm, in my view.
Is it the left, Victoria? Is it the left who are more prone to political violence? Particularly fatal shootings, assassination attempts, not just kind of ruckuses in the street and riots and stuff. I'm talking about assassination attempts.
Look at the murder numbers. The United States, #1 in the world.
To me, I do think that the left, every single mass incident that we've seen has been from a leftist. But I also
just ticked off the Proud Keepers and the Oath Boys.
But they weren't assassinating anyone.
Bob, are you going to keep interrupting me, or can I
I'm
actually
sorry,
get a point in?
but quit saying just the left. Everybody should stop their political rhetoric and tone it down.
Go on, Victoria, give it to him.
I started off the segment by saying we need to tone down our political rhetoric on both sides, but I do think that the people that actually act on the rhetoric are overwhelmingly leftists.
Yeah.
Not true numbers-wise.
Maybe because they're...
Let me see your numbers, Bob.
Bob, what do you like...
In a congressional hearing, they showed how it was 6 times as much actually from the right.
Bob, what do you make of the kind of language we see from our Prime Minister Keir Starmer and David Lammy, is he not Foreign Secretary now, whatever he is now, has been demoted, when they say things like Reform UK's policies are racist, immigration policies. Nigel Farage is the enemy. David Lammy suggesting that Nigel Farage flirted with Hitler Youth in his school days, which he then, stupidly U-turned on, very embarrassingly. What do you make of that kind of language?
I think it's awful. And by the way, the Young Republicans of New York have been disbanded because they just did the same thing. And the state senator who was the head of the Young Republicans has resigned because of it. That just happened over the last day for the very same reason, the same kind of language.